What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kaya, and I'm back. I am back, y'all, with another episode. I know I've been MIA. I sat here and I looked at the last time that I actually posted a podcast, and it was April 23rd, and I'm like, damn, girl, it's been a minute. But, you know, there's been a lot of different things that's been going on in between that time. You know, and it's all part of the process. You know what I'm saying? It is all a part of the process. I was living in Washington State the last time that I posted an episode, in the gloomy state, as I call it. And my family and I, we have made the full transition, the full long road trip journey from Washington State to Georgia. We are now actively living in Georgia. We got the home we wanted, and, you know, we stopped and visited family and friends along the way, all across, you know, the U.S. states, you feel me? And we stopped at certain places that I had written down in my journal where I always wanted to visit, and, you know, and we partied, and, you know, and we drunk, and we had a good old merry time, you know, and now we are here unpacking and setting up our brand new home, and I am actively living, breathing, participating, all of that good shit in my rebirth. So this episode, I want to tell y'all about rebirth, because after shadow work, immediately, you know, you have to start taking some type of responsibility and, you know, being completely active in how it is that you want to live your life, you know. So to kind of recap, shadow work is all about lifting the veil of the unseen and facing the harsh realities of what was, and in some cases what still is, right? It's about letting go of all of the old and recognizing the patterns that got you here, whether those patterns were good or whether they were bad, and fully understanding who you are in contrast to all of your past experiences and your traumas. You know, you slowly start to separate the falsities of your character and actively start standing more in the purities of who you are. And this stage of life is a lengthy ass process. And honestly, from my experience, it's continuous. You are never really done with shadow work because, you know, you're always evolving, and therefore something always needs to be released, you know. With your first start, you know, when you first start the process, it could seem very daunting, and you can easily fall back into old habits, you know, and that's what can make it be a lengthy process, because you kind of have to get used to facing the shit, you know, you have to get used to facing all of your problems head on and not, you know, sweeping them underneath the rug. And for that, you know, you can feel like you're in hell a lot of the times, because it kind of feels like you just can't catch a break, you know. Once you start to recognize that you're solely responsible for everything in your life, you become overwhelmed with emotion. Some of those emotions for me was, you know, guilt and shame and embarrassment, and finally sadness. Good old sadness creeps on in, you know, the sadness coming from the realization that I had the tools the entire time to, you know, make myself happy. And that, yes, you've been in trifling situations that other people may have played a part in, but ultimately, you know, you had the power to stop and no longer wanting to be a part of it and leaving it all together. Choosing yourself, choosing to participate in self-care, choosing to be more disciplined, you know. And the rebirth is when you have finally sifted through all that muck and you found your gem. You found your light. You've found you. You've uncovered and chipped away at all the bullshit. You've led yourself to believe, and you spent hours countless hours crying and feeling sorry for yourself, and you've overindulged in self-help books and long venting sessions with friends and family, and you've probably even tried to help those around you see the light by posting uplifting quotes and mantras, and your Google search history is probably filled with how to get over blah 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 and forgiveness and self-love and self-care, and you probably have tabs of destination vacation spots that you want to try, and you're just absolutely ready to get away. You're absolutely ready to start over. Now that you've fully accepted everything, you're ready to integrate those new lessons that you've learned, and you're ready to actively start being this person that you want to become, that you are. And it's all about, how do I implement the things that I've learned, from the past, and the things that I've learned here now actively in the present. Like, how do I fuse those together to become this, to show the world this, to show myself, my family, my kids, my coworkers, my whoever, my spouse, whoever. Rebirthing is similar to the process that the butterfly goes through when it, when it's in its chrysalis and when it emerges from it. All of those things are intertwined together. And a lot of the work while the butterfly is in its chrysalis is unseen. But it doesn't mean that, transformation is not happening. You can sit here and you can talk to people till you blue in the face and explain to them in great detail of what it is that you're doing and how it is that you're feeling and how it is that you want to move now and certain realizations that you had. But a lot of the time, that enthusiasm and that excitement for your newfound self can get lost in translation, because a lot of people don't have the same enthusiasm for it because maybe they're not actively there. And so that can kind of shy you away from wanting to share, with certain people because, you don't want to seem overly enthusiastic about something that someone has no idea about, and ultimately not getting that type of response from people that you care for can kind of dishearten you in a way and can make you shy away from that emerging process, And so that was something that I was dealing with heavily towards the end of Washington, with even starting this podcast, because I was in the beginning of my rebirthing process when I started the podcast, even though I literally just finished going through all the muck of my shadow work. But with me and my personality, I am very quick. I don't waste time. I don't like to waste time. So once I decide that this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it immediately. Been called impulsive in that way, but I'm very methodical and strategic in how it is that I do the things I do. It's just that I move very fast. So, immediately once I got done with realizing that, damn, like, girl, like, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do whatever it is you want to do. If you want to share this with people, share it. And at the time, I was trying to share my newfound self and my new lust and enthusiasm for life with the people who were immediately, in my immediate surroundings. And it was kind of coming off like, girl, what the fuck you talking about? And, and people were kind of, dismissing me for, dismissing me and basically thinking, this bitch is hella high. You know what I'm saying? Like, she over here, talking out her ass. Like, here she go again, and being really sensitive, very empathic myself, I felt that. And so it was hard for me to stay, upbeat, and hard for me to continue with the momentum that I had, because I basically felt like I was trying to be, I was actively being this new person, and it wasn't accepted because people didn't understand what it was that I went through. Like, a lot of people, I just went missing from them. Like, I totally just dipped, skeet, skirt up out of there and was gone for some months, maybe years at a time, and then came back. And, even though it's always all good when I re-pop up, people weren't understanding this new me. And though they loved me and was happy to see me happy, they just didn't get it, So immediately they would want me to fall back into the old things that, that we used to do together, the old ways of talking, even and hanging out. And it's just like, yo, like, that part of me is dead and gone, And so that is what really, really pushed me to continue to do this podcast and kind of tell my story, and why I started with the, me, self, and I am, so I could pretty much break down the mental and emotional shit that I went through and explain it, have it out there and explain it, so that when I do come across people from the past, they will know that, that Kyla, that Kai that you knew, she is no longer. And it's just a constant reminder that you can do it. You can fully leave your past behind, and you can right your wrongs, and you can stop being a victim, and you can completely accept everything that has happened in your life to this point as being young, being dumb, and not knowing any better. And it is okay to decide to be new. It is okay to start actively doing and being who it is that you feel deep down you want to be. Figuring out creative ways to, show your inside to the outside world. And now every day I am actively doing that fiercely and shamelessly. And it takes a lot of work. I still get the BGs sometimes before I share something, and I still get nervous and everything. But it is now more of an excitement, than anything. And just wanting to make sure that I touch somebody, that I help somebody, that I let somebody know that they are not alone in how it is that they're feeling or what it is that they're going through. And they shouldn't feel alienated from any fucking thing, because we all go through it, at all different ages, and we're all at different stages of our life. But ultimately, the shit that you're feeling and the shit that you're going through as we get older, this is what it is. And this is my story, it's just been very real, y'all. It really has. It's hard sometimes to look back at how it was that I, was actively playing a part in my life, and a lot of it having to deal with my upbringing with my mother. I grew up in a divorced household. My mother and my father were not married probably no more than a year or two, to be honest. They did not do very good with each other, and and they all had their own demons that they needed to work through. And being raised with my mother, she suffers from depression. And so growing up, I was constantly surrounded by sadness and constantly surrounded by, self-pity and playing the victim. And naturally, growing up, you kind of develop those ways of thinking and those ways of coping, and you start to take on those identity markers of your immediate surroundings. And my brother as well, she has 2 children, my mother has 2 kids, my brother and I, and he's about 8.5 years older than I am. So I've always been around older people too growing up, because everyone around me was older. So that's where I feel like growing up really quickly happened, because, even though there were kids around to play with, because of other family members or friends of the family, we had a lot of time to ourselves because, our parents and, having to work, and my mom too dealing with depression. So she spent a lot of time in her room, locked away and being sad, and her own way of coping and her own way of dealing with trauma was very different. And I remember growing up thinking that I felt different in my household. My household felt really heavy in energy and really dark and ominous. And it was because of the constant thoughts and, vibrations that were going on in the home. And I just knew that I always wanted to stay busy and always wanted to be, creative, and always wanted to be out of the house, because when I was solo and I was by myself, I felt very much like me, very light, very airy, very, go with the wind, fabulous darling, and just always wanting to laugh and have a good time. And for whatever reason, when I would get back home and get around that, being young and being empathic, I am a sponge to other people's emotions, and not realizing that I was, taking on the personality traits of my mother, of my brother, of my immediate surroundings, and actively acting them out towards situations that I would come across, growing up, whether it's feuding with friends, whether it's having a disagreement with a teacher. I was always in trouble in school, always. But I was a straight A student. You feel me? I was smart as shit. I just wasn't gonna take no shit, and I felt entitled because I was always around adults, and because I could, follow along with the conversations and, talk with them. And that's kind of how I learned to have the gift of gab, and, because I absorbed, how they interacted with each other and how they talked, and so when I go to school and here I am, I'm supposed to be a child, I'm supposed to be an adolescent, I'm supposed to be being taught something. This is why I'm here. I am very non-compliant, because how dare you? I will do what I want to do when I want to do it. Thank you, ma'am. And not saying that is the way that, every child should be, not at all, of course, because if my child does that to me, hello, it's totally different. No, ma'am, you said what? You did what? Might want to fix your tone, But at that time, I'm feeling like, no, like I got straight A's. Like, why I need to do all of that? Like, I'll do it when I do it. Like, don't trip. I'm finna get it done. Like, and I could see how, that could start to make my reputation at a very young age be, what it was, I'm saying, I was uncontrollable. I was very shameless, but not in a way that I feel right now as an adult looking back was appropriate. But I understand why it was that I was doing it, because being in the house that I was in and dealing with, family members who have mental illnesses, it's very hard to relate, and it's very hard to, carry conversations and kind of want to continuously be around that. So I started to pretty much raise myself, and though my mom was still supplying me with, clothes and food, my everyday to day type of things were me. I did my hair. I made sure I was up on time. I bought my light rail tickets and my passes, and I got myself to school. I went to my home back to school nights. You know what I mean? Because she was working. It wasn't that she didn't actively wanted to go. It was just that she was raising us, by herself, and she had to work. Like, she couldn't be there all the time, and so that led me to be very, very independent and very, very unbearable. Like, you can't tell me shit because I do this, like I was telling you in a couple of episodes before, like, I checked myself out of high school. I went to C.K. McClatchy in Sacramento, California, and I checked myself out of high school like sophomore, junior year, one of those. And I put myself into homeschool because I felt like, why am I sitting here with all of these people who don't like me, who want to fight me, who are jealous of me, who don't understand me, who, think that I'm something that I'm not. And I don't have time for it. Like, I need to get these A's. I need to get these credits. I need to graduate. I need to start living. Was my mentality like. And I told my mom, hey, I want to be in homeschool. Can you sign me on? She said no. And I said, girl, listen, you are hindering my plans. And I'm not okay with it. You feel me? You're not thinking straight. And so I actively was taking charge of my life even back then. You know, it was just that I had an arrogance about me, you know, rather than being loving and, you know, full of life and enthusiastic and upbeat like I am now. It was very much like, oh, bitch, no. No. You will not. You will not. And, you know, and was just very arrogant and snappy and just like full of herself, you know. But I don't cringe at that, thinking back at it, because I knew, well, not knew, but I know that I had to be that way in that time. You know, I feel like everything is in divine time, and not everything is coincidence, you know. And so I signed myself up for homeschool, you know, forged her signature, did all of that. And by the next week, I was in homeschool. And by the next 3 months, I was graduated from high school. You know, I graduated early, like the first couple of months in my junior year of high school, and was done. You know, I'm done now at high school at like 16, 17 years old. I'm completely done. And so now, you know, I want to start living. I want to start doing the things that I want to do. I already had a job. You know, now I'm saving up because I want to get my apartment. I want to get a home, you know. And at the time I was dating my husband, my now husband, you know, my only husband, now husband, my husband. And, you know, and we just wanted to start living. And I was actually having a conversation with him the other day, because I was like, you know, I feel like I moved as quickly as I did because of how displaced I felt at home. I felt really displaced because the energies there were very heavy and it didn't feel like me. And I knew that, but I didn't understand really to the extent why I didn't want to be there, why I didn't want to be around, why I wanted to dissociate myself with that. You know, and I wanted to have my own family. I really did. Like, I wanted to be the mom that I always wish my mom could be. You know, she was never able to go on field trips with me. She was never available for a back to school night. You know, she would come up to the school if they were trying to suspend me because of my mouth. You know, she's like, oh, hell no, that's not happening. So she would show up for that, you know, but she was just not there when I really felt like parents should be there. And, you know, I'm surrounded by friends who have all of these cousins in town and all of these aunties in town. And, you know, they're going to their grandmothers on the weekend and their chilling with their grandparents and, you know, going on vacation during the summer. And I didn't have any of that. You know, my grandparents, all, you know, both sets of them passed away at a very young age for me. You know, my mom's mom passed away when I was like 5, and my dad's mom passed away, I think I was like barely 2. And just as soon as I started to get to know my grandpa on my mom's side, because, you know, he lived in Southern California and we stayed in Sacramento, which is about a, you know, 8 hour difference. So we couldn't see each other all the time. But as soon as I started to get to know him and be around him, you know, he passed away. You know, and now I think I'm like going on 10. He passed away, and my dad's dad passed away when I was really, really young too. I want to say probably I was like 7, and I didn't know him at all because he stayed in Southern California as well. And, you know, he was sick. So all of these people who are, you know, have a more hierarchy position, who I felt I really wanted to get to know, I didn't have. They were deceased, you know. And I knew that my mom was still suffering from her parents passing. Really, her mother, she was very close with her mom passing. And so already living with depression and stuff, that kind of just added on. And, you know, she, to me, in my adult, you know, perspective now, reflecting back, I don't feel that she handled and she grieved properly. And so, that played a part in a lot of her being missing in parts that I feel she should have been present in. Even though she could have physically been there, we all know with depression, you are not there. Emotionally, you are not there. And so, I just knew that wasn't me. And I just knew that I wanted to kind of get out and be on my own so that I can see how I navigate and do it better. And it started off with this, it started off kind of like, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you kind of mentality, and I could see where that kind of got me into a rut of feeling like I'm in competition with everybody, because I was fighting to be seen, but to be seen for me. I didn't want to be attached to things that I didn't feel was me, but I also didn't know how to shake the way that I was molded, and like I wasn't realizing that I had adopted the same type of coping mechanisms and the same type of victim mentality and, woe is me, pity party, self-loathing traits that a lot of my family members, even outside of my home, had. And I kind of felt like it was like a curse, like I was cursed, you feel me? Because I was constantly fighting, trying to emerge from my shell, but it was like I had this dark, ominous cloud over me, and I didn't know how to fully be this light and airy person. I was afraid to show it because anytime I did, I was being told I was rambunctious, or I was being told I was too optimistic, and and that even rolled over into the friends that I had. Certain friends that I had reflected a lot of those personality traits of, just being very nasty, not nasty in, sexual behavior or whatever, just nasty in personality and the way you present yourself to the world, very just like not giving a fuck and, ignorant. And, and I was grouped in with that, and I was that, and that was the first thing that I wanted to shake. And dealing with that during my shadow work of realizing, first accepting that, girl, that's you. Like you have a nasty way of attacking people when you feel threatened. Your mouth is very reckless because deep down you are dissociating that from you. And so automatically I would go into defend mode, and growing up with the family members that I had, they were very, very good at verbally attacking, not so much physical abuse, but my mother could verbally attack you and make you feel like you are the lowest of the low. So I learned at a very young age how to be a word assassin, is what I call it. I could read you from up and down and not bat an eye, and that was the first thing that I wanted to get rid of, not the word assassin. I love words. I love being able to articulate myself, but I wanted to speak to uplift or to make people feel better rather than break them down. But first, I had to do it with myself, because as soon as I, like I said, I'm very quick. As soon as I realized that I wanted to use my words to uplift rather than tear down, I immediately went into trying to help people, but not fully understanding the emotional standpoint that I need to be able to exude out, and the patience that I need to have with dealing with people who, maybe not be ready to hear certain truths, or maybe not be ready to accept certain things, or maybe not even be ready to hear anything from me, period. Like, who are you? Let's be real, that I was still getting very offended if I took the time to help someone or to give someone some encouraging words and then they immediately shun me like, bitch, who are you, kind of thing. And so I would go retreat back into my old ways of feeling very defensive and would, of course, verbal diarrhea, start assassinating people with my words immediately, even though I just uplifted you. You feel me? Like I had not adapted or learned really, that humility part of it, that I hadn't really understood that just because I am here doesn't mean other people are there, and just because I have words of encouragement doesn't necessarily mean that I am actively living that either. So how could they believe me? And then if someone doesn't agree with you, girl, you can't just go off and start cussing people out because they don't agree, even though what you said could be right. Like, that is not your place. So I was like, okay, I need to dial it back and I need to truly work on me. And so that is when I just started to pull away everything that I felt was heavy and saying goodbye to the people that I felt were heavy and could essentially ruin me. Not ruin me by, reputation or anything like that, but could ruin me by simply being with them because of how heavy they are in their energy and how heavy they, go and navigate about in their own life, not taking responsibility for anything, not being a truth seeker, not, wanting to do better, but wanting other people to do better for them. I had to disassociate myself from that, and I had to truly, truly work on me. And I was very, very, very depressed. And I feel like in those stages of really working on me and accepting that, I'm not too far off from, my mother and her ways of going through things, so you can't be upset with her, because just because you can have better days than she does doesn't mean that you're better, and I had to accept that. And I remember there a lot of friction going on between my mother and I during that time because I was looking at her through adult eyes now. I wasn't looking at her through adolescent eyes anymore. I was looking at her as a woman, through womanly eyes, and I was trying to talk to her and heal those parts in me by having conversations with her. And so I would constantly be sad because there was a respect level that I was trying to maintain with her being my mother, So if I would say something or have an opinion about, something that happened in my childhood and want to talk about it, and though she's in denial and doesn't, see it, she would kind of dismiss me in her own ways that she always did, and it would take me back, and I would kind of start to fall into the same old habits of feeling like it's my fault. It's my fault, the reason why I feel the way that I feel, and it's my fault, the reason why our relationship now has totally taken a 180, where she was all I ever knew and all I ever wanted to be around and share with. And now I am looking at her with new eyes and I don't recognize you. And that was hard for me. It was like I was mourning parts of myself because, it's like I feel so removed from you, and I'm trying to tell you that, I want better, and I want better for you, and I want better for me, and, let's try this. And I was just hitting brick walls. So naturally, with me being an Aquarius, you feel me? I detached emotionally like a motherfucker. And I went missing from my mother. I would duck and dodge from her because I needed to heal. After so many attempts of trying to get us to heal together to no avail, it is like, okay, now it's do or die. I am survival mode. I have to go. I love you. Bye. And I would duck and dodge and I would move and change my number. And it's just all until I could get strong enough and shake certain shit to be able to face her on my own fully in my essence, not hers, and it took years. It took years for me to do that. And I still carried around a very sad, like a dark, heavy sadness because, I don't have my mother. And then, that trickled over to my older brother, and that trickled over to childhood friends, having friction with them because, we have been apart for so many years, and now we're back together, visiting, and, the things that they're going through, I went through at a very young age, now that they're going through that, you feel me? Because like I said, I grew up quick, I had kids, my eldest daughter, I got pregnant with her at 18. And, and so by the time everybody's purchasing drinks and going out to bars and stuff like that, I'm already on my second child at 21, and I'm already married, and I've already moved out of state, and, we're already looking to, trying to get our credit improved so we can buy our first home. And, I'm not doing the things that other people were doing. So now, on top of accepting that I'm gonna have to battle these inherited demons, and traumas, and sift through all of that and constantly heal myself, now I'm trying to find a new circle that looks like me, that feels like me, that is en route or doing better than I am, that I could look up to. Who are my role models? Who do I have to look up to? And who's gonna help me when I'm down? And so then I went from a very, healing, enthusiastic, okay, I need to dissociate, now I feel good, I can go through this type of phase, to being alone and sad. And so it was like, now the newfound shadow work that I had to do at that time was accepting that I am different and fully embracing that. And that was scary for me because, everyone wants to be different. Everyone wants to stand out. Everyone wants to be set apart from the crowd. But when you truly are, and you realize how lonely it is, you have nothing but your own mental and emotional self, and God. And that is where my love and my connection with God started to develop even more, but more in a type of way that resonated with me. I had always been trying to go to church with friends, and I actively was a Buddhist for many years. I was born into Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. My parents met practicing Buddhism. My father is still an active Buddhist to this day, and so I tried doing that, and I liked the meditative aspect of it, and I liked, I learned about cause and effect, and how you could live in different levels of hell and heaven, all of that here on earth, and how you can completely transfuse muck into luck. I learned that from that, but was still actively, very into God and into the universe, and understanding, law of attraction, and actively reading The Secret, and seeking out people like Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, and, it's all the same person, but she's Esther Hicks, and she's, written a lot of the books like Law and Attraction and The Vortex, and, things like that. And then looking into my ancestry and, submitting, that to figure out where it is that my roots come from, and, doing research on that, and then finding out, oh man, I've always been interested in, in different deities and learning the ways of them, and finding out that a lot of my ancestry and my bloodline, that my mother told me, that I had Native in me, that I was, I grew up thinking I'm a half black and Mexican, and I am not. I'm not at all. I have like 1 or 2% Native American in me, and the rest of me is straight from the Congo. You feel me? Straight from Cameroon. And it's just like I felt, now I'm dealing with all this new shit and feeling so completely bamboozled. You know, like I have these tattoos of these native people, and though I have family members who are in fact Seminole Indian and Apache, that is not just me. You know what I mean? Like that is not all of what I am. And then I kind of started to grow a newfound resentment towards my mom again, because I felt like her upbringing from, in the era that she was in, growing up during a lot of the time where, racism is still very, very real to this day, but was real heavy, in the South where she was growing up, and she's very, very fair, has green eyes, has very, fine hair. She could pass for white if she wanted to, back then. And so I would started to replay a lot of the things that she would tell me, in my head, about, not dating anybody darker than a paper bag, because of her own traumas that she had of not wanting to have grandkids who were darker skinned because of the turmoils that they would face during life. And so to me, growing up, I'm thinking about how nasty I was to people that look different from me because of hearing that. Like, believing that, oh, because you're lighter, you're going to be mistreated. And in fact, I have been mistreated, for my skin color on both sides, And now I'm trying to raise these beautiful brown babies. And how do I tell them how to navigate? How do I teach them how to stand on their own 2 feet when the way I was raised, I don't agree with? For the longest, when I was younger, I only dated light-skinned men because of my mother. My mom not wanting me to, be looked at differently and not wanting to be disrespected, whatever her beliefs were, but they were wrong. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm faulting her for anything like that. That is what she believes, I'm saying that is her own trauma. We all have our own shit. But for me, I didn't agree with it, so I was so dismissive to black men, to darker skinned men, because of fear of my mom not accepting them and me, believing the lies, not even fully making the connection that my daddy is a dark skinned man. And so then it was like, okay, I really need to build upon my relationship with my father, because over the years, I was very, very negative to him when I was younger because of the influence of my mother, and not really understanding why it was that they broke up. So I had to actively take a role into getting to know him and understanding. And then the stories and the things that we would start to share, I would kind of put 2 and 2 together, and things started to make sense. He had his side of the story and she has hers, but there's always that middle, And so I kind of made a vow that, I'm going to be my parents' biggest dreams. I kind of started looking at things in a more optimistic type of way. And I realized, my mother just wanted to be accepted, period. And my father, he just wanted to experience and to do. And so why can't I be their biggest dreams? I am going to, despite my skin complexion and despite the mistreatment that I get, dealing with colorism, I'm going to push through. I'm going to push through, and I'm going to be a black woman. Yes, I am, because I am. And I don't care how light-skinned I am. I have no control over that, but I am very black. You know what I mean? And it is okay. And whether or not these people that I come across, whether or not you accept it or not, once you get to know me and you start talking to me rather than just judging me off of my looks, you will understand and you will accept me. But until then, this is what it is, baby. And with my father, he said he always wanted tattoos, and here I am, I'm covered in tattoos. Not because my daddy wanted them, but because, naturally, that's just what the fuck I wanted. You feel me? And I love tattoos, and so I started to find healing in being the things that my parents always dreamed of, you know, and now I found a new foundation in that and was able to stand on that and to expand on that. And so now it's like, okay, those parts of me are healed. You know, everything that happened to me in my childhood, everything that I went through, all of the, you know, cockiness and arrogance that I went through was all for me to naturally, as a boomerang effect, then get that treatment back to see how that shit feels. And I did, often, all the fucking time. You know, it was just that I had such a brave face and could be so stoic in the face of adversity that no one would know what was going on underneath, but a bitch was hurt. You feel me? And so I'm just like, okay, well, in order to not experience this type of mistreatment, I need to completely not do it. And so I'm full, like, I of course, roasting sessions is my jam, but that is, you know, that is all in fun and play, and everyone is in agreement. You know what I'm saying? But I am not going to live my life being nasty to people. I don't have it in me. I don't like manipulation. I don't like lies. I don't like, you know, procrastination. And I don't like when people play the victim, because, baby, you don't have to. You know, you don't have to. We can be sad and we could have a moment of weakness, but you will pull yourself up and you will do better because you can. You know? And so coming back into being around people who once knew me as this nasty, malicious person who's always getting into fights and, you know, things like that, and talking out the side of her mouth and rolling her neck and being a word assassin. And now here I am, a fucking woman. You feel me? A black woman standing in my power, not taking no shit, but in a different type of way. And I love that. And when I started to finally get the respect that I felt I deserved, it was because I was fully, actively being that. I wasn't pretending no more. I wasn't trying to prove a point to nobody. I was the point, period. I was it, you know? And I realized that, you know, being dismissed as and not being taken seriously when I'm speaking about something, I had learned how to detach from shit like that at a young age. Now I can just implement that in a healthier way. So if someone doesn't agree with the way that I am, or finds friction in my being, you know, with them, then we are just not good for each other. And I will detach. But I won't do you dirty. I won't speak down on you. I won't belittle you, because that is not me. And even though people can, you know, try their best to try and belittle me and try to devalue who I am by not believing in what it is that I'm doing, because they aren't actively where I am right now in life, which I know they will get there. I am fully aware that a lot of people end up doing a full fucking circle and coming back and being like, damn, bitch. And I be like, hey, yo, I'm glad you back. You feel me? And, you know, we could pick up from there. And that is where I'm like, you know what? I am shameless. And I have all the tools. And I thank God for, you know, constantly showing me myself. You know, the shadow work was for me to sit with God and to really see myself. How can I teach? How can I lead? How can I be an example for my kids? How can I be you know, a sister, a big sister, a homie, a big homie, whatever, to people around me if I don't accept my past, and if I don't realize that everybody has their own timeline? Like, it really taught me humility, and it really taught me how to be patient. And I started to look at the world differently. And, you know, if I have to stand on my own against everybody else in the world, then I will, because this peace that I have found, it is not fake. It is not bullshit. Like, I have been drugged sometimes by my own character and sometimes by other people, you know, because I was not believed in. And I could see why. Because how is it that you talking like this, but you not acting like this? So I quit talking and started doing, you know? And now here I am fully standing in it, ready to talk while I continue to do, baby, you know? And so it's like this rebirthing process has been great because it just constantly, you know, shows me that, man, like anything and everything is possible. Anything and everything. When I was in my lowest of the lows, you know, back in Washington, I wrote in my journal about where I wanted to live somewhere it was sunny all the time and the weather was good. And because of growing up, you know, not being fully accepted by, you know, darker skinned women, I wanted to be in the thick of it. You know, I want to be in the thick of it, and I don't want to feel like an outsider anymore. And dealing with, you know, white people, I was always considered like a glorified pet. You get, you know, considered to be the one that's acceptable. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself is degrading because how fucking dare you? You feel me? Like, all of a sudden you get paraded around like some fucking trophy because your skin is not dark. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, how this is a bunch of bullshit, you know? And you still feel very much alone because like, this is not me. You are not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't fully relate to everything that you're doing because you don't have the same experiences that I do despite my skin color. And then now, you know, you deal with, you know, trying to navigate in the black community and everyone is looking at you like you're extra ass privileged when really you're fucking alone. And it can be true. There can be some advantages of being light-skinned. We all know that. But it's still degrading with the person that's dealing with it, and nobody talks about that. You feel me? And so it's like, no more. You know, I want to be a person that can actively bring people together. I don't think I'm going to cure racism at all. That is going to have to be a worldly thing. But I do want to bring people of all different walks of life together. And this is why I started this shameless shit. You feel me? This is why I'm doing Shamelessly Speaking. This is why I started my business, Shameless Ave. You know, because I want to bring people, all misfits, all, you know what I'm saying, colors and creeds of every fucking thing together, and let's create art. Let's create things so we can artistically express ourselves. So actively in this rebirth, this is what I'm doing. I am starting to integrate people who have, you know, talent in their specific field, whether you're good at poetry, whether you're good at writing short stories, whether you already have a business and you have a clothing line or you have a jewelry line, or you want to become a singer, or you're a comedian, or you're bomb at art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love art no matter what it is. You know, pottery, oil paints, digital art, photo editing, whatever it is that you creatively express yourself to the world, I want to blast you. I want to show you off, and I want to bring people together so everyone could meet and, you know what I'm saying, start forming bonds and relationships through who you actively are, not what the fuck you look like. So with that being said, I have multiple avenues of where people can reach me. So either you can follow me at Shameless Kai, that's Shameless KY on Instagram, or you can follow the store at Shameless_Av on Instagram. Find me on Facebook, Kyla Batista. Okay, it's all the links is on here on the podcast thing. So just click the links, go to the website www.shamelessav.com, or download the app Shameless Av in either Google or Apple, you know, store, whatever kind of phone you have, and hit me up on there in the messenger and let me know, you know what I'm saying, you want to be a part of it. And, you know, I already have some people who have submitted certain things to the email, which is shamelessav@gmail.com. You know, send me a photo, send me a little short clip and some details about you, your background, and whatever your art is, whatever that is, and I will put you on that site, and other people will come across it, and you will find your niche, you will find your people, because I feel like for growing up, I always felt like I had to fight really hard to find people who were like me, and I just want to be a bridge for other people, and in return, get to meet y'all awesome ass motherfuckers too, so hit me up on that, okay? Instagram at shamelessky, KY. Hit me in my DMs, say, hey sis, you feel me, I'm hella good at art, you feel me, or I'm hella good at photography, whatever, and I just feel like my work's not being seen. I just feel like, I want to find a new crowd, whatever it is, and, I will let you know the next steps on how to get on there. You'll get popped up on people's phone in the app, because tons of people have the fucking app, you feel me, and, you will be able to start branching out of social media, because lately, especially during this whole COVID shit, social media became like a fucking endless circle, and people are really, really starting to feel disheartened with their businesses, starting to feel disheartened with their art, because it's a game now. Social media is a fucking game. It's not really a place a lot of the time to meet people. It's very hard because everyone is battling for likes and no one is really paying attention to content. So if you want your content to be seen, if you actually want to meet people who are serious and have people discover you in other ways other than social media, hit your girl up, okay? And we will go from there, all right? And I will put you on the blog. I will maybe even eventually travel to wherever you are, and you could come on a podcast and tell your story. This is what I'm doing. This is it. That I want to meet people, and I want other people to meet people like them. And that person may be straight from fucking Pakistan, and another person be preppy, white collar, turned up white. You know what I'm saying? And you guys now meet because of this one place, and we all shameless, and we don't give a fuck about where you came from. It's about where you going. All right? So with that being said, y'all know I'm in the car, and it's hot as hell. Okay? I'm in this car sweating in these leather seats. So I'm going to take myself upstairs, and hit me up. All right? The people that have submitted all of your stories and, your art, get my internet on Wednesday. This is shameless, okay? I get my internet on Wednesday. I just told y'all we just moved, okay? So we still unpacking, and it's been real hard to update my site and to really get to work, because I've low-key kind of been on vacation, because I've been laying all the brick and the groundwork for this stuff for a long time. So I kind of made myself take a break along with, trying to do this transition. So I got y'all stories, I got y'all pictures, I got y'all art, I got all of that. As soon as your girl, gets her internet, I'm going to get to work, and I will hit y'all up and let y'all know when I'm going to start blasting y'all, and when you can be on there, so y'all can let y'all friends and family, know, and you see your shit, and you feel me, and let's just do the damn thing, okay? I got y'all. I have not forgotten. All right, I know some of y'all been like, sis, I feel you. I haven't forgotten, okay? But until next time, y'all, deuces.